Hey, Coach Wheeler here, and today I want to share a story with you, and this one's really important. This is from a previous client. We recently had a catch-up session to look back at what we went through, the sessions we had, and how they've progressed, and how the things that we implemented and talked about, and the coaching I gave them, the guidance I gave them, how that's impacted their lives and how they feel now. And sometimes it's always good 6 months after a batch of sessions to sit down and have like a little review, a look back, and kind of what we could have done better, what's improved, what's amazing, how things kind of worked. And sitting down with this person, there was kind of like an amazing moment where they've been through such a transformation in their life that they wanted me to share with you this story. They said, look, if only so many people could learn, maybe you could use some of these principles. And I said, look, it'd be really helpful if I could. I do a channel, I do this stuff, and sharing some of these anecdotes and these stories really help. They help me massively as a mindset, purpose, and life coach to help people going forward, but also for you guys out there. If you sit down to watch these videos, if you get a little inspiration, a little spark of something that helps you, it was the same for them. They wanted to share it, and they said, look, it's quite, I'll change the names to protect the innocent. But do you know what I mean? It's the principles and the ideologies and the strategies and frameworks that you can use in your life that help them. And it was really kind of them to want to share that with me, not only also with me, but allow me to share it with you. So I wanted to bring you some of the main parts of their story. And obviously I won't dive too much into the information because it's personal to them, but the principles. So basically they had a really troubled childhood. Their parents were there but not there. They had a lot of issues and problems and drink and drugs and all that kind of stuff that kind of took them away from being proper parents. And these kids then end up feeling abandoned. They were kind of on their own. They didn't have guidance. There were things they had to just, fend for themselves. There were days and days where they were kind of left with, horrible things, without proper clothing, without proper meals. The grandma had to interject. There were different things that had to happen. And they kind of ended up fending for themselves. And we're in a way we're like feral cats, when you just survive in the wild and you find your own way. But you kind of don't have that guidance of the family and the nurturing of parenting that we all need. Sometimes we have bad nurturing and bad parents, but when you don't have any, you have to fend for yourselves. And your mind, what it will do, it'll catastrophize things. It will kind of it's always worst case scenario, because you feel like you've just got no guidance. You've got no one to reassure you, no one to teach you, no one to learn from. And it was quite a horrible thing that they had to go through. Who they are now is completely different. And obviously with the coaching and the mindset and the purpose stuff that we did, really helped them to take those last few steps to kind of understand who they are and move forward. So it was really amazing. But the main points that came out of it was kind of there was two or three little items. One was, that when you were 5 years old or 2 years old or 7 years old, all of those bad things that happened for your life, kind of, they happen for you, not against you. And understanding that is really difficult, because you think, what do you mean they happen for me? When that bad thing happened, that wasn't nice, that was horrible to go through. But what it does, it teaches you a strength. It gives you an inner confidence that if you can go through that, you can go through anything. And it's also worth remembering that the person you were at 5, to the person you were at 8, the 8-year-old needed the 5-year-old to get to be 8. And a part of you had to die for the next part of you to be reborn. And it's really important to know that. That sounds quite spiritual, but it's also very mental. When your mindset understands that parts of you need to die, and we've all experienced it. I have myself. Things in my life that have had to die inside me for a new part of me to be born, for me to grow. When things aren't growing, they're staying still. When they're staying, they're stagnating and basically will wilt away and die. So parts of us we need to shed that old parts of our skin and that old parts of our history and our mindset and our experiences, learn from them, carry them and use the energy from them, but don't let them control us. And remembering that parts of you needed to die for the new part to be born. So as you progress through life, you gain more experience, you gain more knowledge, but don't use that mindset from the 5-year-old to control who you are today. That was a big thing they said. At 40 years old, I can't let the 5-year-old with all that pain and loss and confusion and all those difficult times control who I am now. Learn from that, but don't let that control you. That experience, I don't know, I'll take this book here. That experience can be something that sticks to you, and you use it as an armor, and you use it as something to to help shield you for the future. You use it wisely. But when you use it to control you, and it's in front of you, and it's part of you're acting as the 5-year-old because you're hurt and upset for what happened. You're driving the bus and you can't see where you're going. You're blinded by that vision of the 5-year-old, that experience, that mindset. You have to drop that, use it to your experience, read from the book, the knowledge that you had and the experiences, but keep that to one side and use the mindset you have today from those experiences to give you the life you want. Don't let that experience bury you, pull you down, weigh you down, and drag you back to the past that you're no longer in. Those things are not those things are not affecting you now. And one thing we did talk about was, I said that imagine you now as a 40-year-old person. If you could go back and take care of that young version of you, how would you feel? What would you do? You would never, ever, 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 ever leave that young child in that position. You would take hold of that child and think, wow, you poor little thing. I'm going to clothe you. I'm going to look after you. I'm going to treat you right. So remember that young person you were, the young girl, the young boy that was abandoned, was treated badly, was abused, was left to the side, was cast aside, left on their own to fend for themselves. Imagine you could go back with everything you know now and you could nurture that young little person and say, I'm going to look after you. So respect yourself. Give yourself that love and don't let that pain affect who you are today. But also appreciate that little girl, that little boy had to go through that horrible, shitty time for you to be who you are today. And you know what? It's made you stronger. It can make you stronger. And realizing that life happens for you, not against you, is a massive thing to understand. It's a very slight shift. You think, well, it happens for me, not against me. If you really take that on board, that even in those dark times, even in those really horrible moments, as my famous saying says, in our darkest battles, we find our greatest strengths. Through those difficult times, you had to go through that to get where you are today. And like I said, a piece of you had to die for the new you to be born. But cherish that. Don't let the 5-year-old control who you are today, but appreciate that young kid and what they went through. And that there was once you, like when you're a baby, you used to shit your nappy, but you don't now. You've learned from that. It's a process that we have to go through. So realize that. Respect it, trust it, own it, believe in it, and be the version of you today that young person would be proud of. That you then say, well, it was worth my sacrifice. It was worth me going through those traumatic times to get to who I am today. We've all had it. I've had experiences in my life. I'm sure if you're taking time to watch this, you've had experiences that you've gone through that were horrible and you think it was unfair, it was unjust. Why did that happen to me? It didn't happen to you. It happened for you. It helped you grow to be the person you are today. So again, remember that pieces of you have to die for the new you to be born. And it was such a beautiful moment. And we shared that. We talked about it. I'm so blessed they wanted to share that and let me share that with you guys. I hope it's helped. I hope it sparked something in you. There's a lot more to the story and there's a lot more to the psychology. And like I said, me being a mindset, purpose and life coach is what I do. There are so many little nuances to it. But through everything we worked on, this story that came to fruition was just a beautiful thing that I've been really privileged to be able to share with you guys. So I hope it helps. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends. And I'll see you guys on the other side. I hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.